Hello YouTubers, this is Western Kentucky Raiders once again. We're going to cover some College Hoops 2K8, and this time around we're in the next season 4 from the last time, where we had some problems with Arkansas. It was quite interesting this season as the coach for Arkansas had a hard time doing some rebuilding, and his entire objective was basically get to the NIT as stated in the previous video. Well, things were not looking so hot for him. But first, we're going to look at this media poll and perhaps the mid-major poll. Anchors did it again. They're on top of the world once again. They had a wonderful recruiting class, and they took care of business up in the good state of Alaska. North Carolina held their own. A team from Omaha also did well. And some new team from last year that did not make the top 10, USC, they made a good run this year. We'll see what happens when it comes for Selection Sunday. And another independent, Louisville, also held their own. Now let's take a look at that quick coach poll too. I guess we can do that too. As you can see, it pretty much mimics the media poll. Mid-major poll sometimes interesting to look at because sometimes you get an idea of who might steal some of those major bids from the big conferences for the wonderful bracketology. Talking about bracketology, we'll take a look at Arkansas' schedule. They wanted to get some good wins behind the schedule because they want to build the fan base up a little bit, especially after last year's terrible season. So they did get to a good start, 4-1. Then when it came to conference play, well, they had the same problems again. They encountered injuries once again, and they had growing pains also. But Coach really knew what to do this time around because he said, I didn't want to lose in the first round of the SEC tournament this time around. So he did some practices, and even though the players got better, he held them back this time because he did not want to have them re-injured at the worst possible time. So therefore, it equated to a lot of losses. You know, without those key players, some of the games were close. Especially the one against Kentucky. And this was a decent game for a while until the last few minutes of that ball game where Tennessee made some key free throws. And of course, Arkansas took care of their arch rival Texas A&M. As their last non-conference game for the season. They want to have a special showcase just to prove they can still win. And then a little bit later in the season, they had a fifth player possibly get in better shape, so they actually stole a couple of games here, especially against Alabama. And they came really close against North Carolina at the very end of the season, losing 52-48. But when it came to the SEC tournament, they said, okay, coaches let them, everybody said, we're going to go for broke this time. And to give you an idea how bad Arkansas did in the SEC, they came in 10th once again at a mark of 5-11 in the conference. That is so terrible. But he said this is probably the last season we'll see that type of stats for this team because he said we feel like this team and this squad can really get going with it next season. So we're going to look at the tournament tree of how people did in the conference tournament. Arkansas had their hands full with Mississippi State, and they took care of just squeaked by Florida. Then they went into a matchup with Alabama, took care of their business at the last moment there also. Then it came down to Duke, and Duke posed a good challenge for a while, but Arkansas shut Duke down when it counted. And it came out 52-40 winner over Duke in the SEC title game. With that said, let's see what happens to Selection Sunday because I am so interested in how how that's going to be an effect for the seed, because being at 14-12 and 5-11 in the conference, but yet you win 4 games in 4 days. Now that's going to be interesting. See where the selection committee decides to put Arkansas. We'll take a quick look at Anchor's season schedule. We can do that. No, not a problem. They had the Great Alaska Shootout, and they came out flat-footed. But they had some key wins along the way. They had key wins against UCLA, Kansas, and North Carolina. But they also lost on the Tennessee and to Connecticut. How always happens to be that Anchorage did also host Texas A&M because they say they're trying to one-up Arkansas, because they say, because they've been talking with Arkansas and Omaha, and they're trying to think of a way to where these three teams somehow can meet each other in some sort of tournament or something. We don't know yet. But Anchorage did have a lot of key wins. They also had key wins against Gonzaga and Marquette and Georgetown. Omaha, well, they may not have the prettiest resume from what I remember, but they did have a key loss against Louisville, which may play a big part and where they'll be heading for their seed. And they did not want to have too many ball games outside of the conference, but they did have a key win against Texas, 55-40. So that may make up for that bad loss way back here in the very beginning of the season against Louisville. With that said, let's take a good look at what's going to happen with Selection Sunday.
Get those pencils ready. Here are the basics. Of the 65 available tournament bids, 31 are automatically given to conference champions. The tournament committee hands out the remaining 34 bids on an at-large basis. An opening round game will take place on Tuesday night to narrow the field to 64 teams. Before we get into the brackets for the upcoming tournament, let's take a look at the final top 25 media poll. There are a couple of shakeups as we get ready for March Madness. The Oklahoma Sooners jumped all the way from the number 24 spot to number 18. They're peaking at just the right time, Greg. This is exactly the way you want to be playing going into the tournament. Also, a new team has made the leap into the top 25. The Georgetown Hoyas are back in the fold as the number 23 team. It's time to talk about the topic that has a lot of players and coaches holding their breath right now, the NCAA tournament bubble. These are the 10 teams that aren't worried as much about where they'll be playing as if they'll be playing.
I doubt Texas A&M will make it.
Utah impressed me this year, but there were occasions when they seemed to lose focus for a game or two at a time, and those setbacks could be what keeps them out of the tournament. And we have a few more teams in similar position, right, Clark? UAB put together a solid season, but their record just isn't impressive enough to make them a no-brainer bid. If the committee doesn't give weight to their tough conference, they could be out of luck. I'm sure it's been a long week for those teams, but the wait's almost over. The NCAA Selection Committee has finished its meeting, and we're ready to unveil the top 4 seeds in this year's tournament. The Michigan State Spartans are the top overall seed, and they will play in the East region. On to the second number 1 seed, who will play in the South region. The Connecticut Huskies are seeking their 3rd NCAA championship in school history. The North Carolina Tar Heels are our 3rd number 1 seed, and they'll play in the Midwest region. They're back in the tournament again, and no doubt they'll be feeding off the experience of last year's appearance as they try to get to the Final Four this year. And finally, our 4th number 1 seed will play.
Look at that. None of the user teams have made the number 1 seed this season. That's interesting.
For the 3rd time in the history of their program. Now, here's how the brackets shape up based on where the number 1 seeds have been assigned. In one national semifinal game, the winner of the East Regional will play the winner of the South Regional. In the other semifinal game, the winner of the Midwest Regional will play the winner of the West Regional. Those games will be played on Saturday, April 4th. Then they'll be on to the national championship game on Monday night, April 6th. Any surprises in there for you, Clark? Well, when you see the selection committee deviate from the top 4 teams in the media poll, it's a little surprising. They've opened themselves up to some criticism with these picks. So, with the number 1
Definitely.
seeds out of the way, finally time to tackle the rest of the bracket. First up, we take a look at the East Regional. The Michigan State Spartans are the top seed, finishing at 30-4. They've won both the regular season and conference tournament titles in the Big Ten. They will take on the winner of the opening round play-in game between Santa Clara with 12 wins and Utah State from the WAC. And now, the number 8 seed, the Washington Huskies, come into the tournament 5th in their conference during the regular season and were semifinalists in their conference tournament. They're going to play the number 9 seed, the Duke Blue Devils, who finished 2nd in their conference tournament, finishing at 19-15.
That's interesting.
Oklahoma comes in as the number 5 seed, finishing at 25-8. And they will take on the 12th seed from the Metro Atlantic Conference, the Loyola College Greyhounds, with 20 wins. Georgia Tech enters the field as the number 4 seed from the ACC. This marks their 16th appearance ever in the NCAA tournament. They'll be getting ready to face the number 13 seed, the East Tennessee State Buccaneers. Finished the season with 19 wins. The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets are going to provide serious matchup problems to any team that doesn't have depth and defensive ability at both guard spots. They have outstanding backcourt play at both ends of the court. It's the main reason they made it this far. They're going to have to maintain that form if they want to do some damage in this tournament. The Georgetown Hoyas are in as the number 6 seed. They'll be taking on the number 11 seed.
UAB did make it. That's one of those bubble teams.
With 19 wins. Kansas comes in as the number 3 seed, finishing at 22-8. Eastern Kentucky comes in to face them at number 14 with 19 wins in the tournament championship of the Ohio Valley Conference. Our number 7 seed is from the ACC. The South Carolina Gamecocks are on a hot streak, having just won their conference tournament championship. They are going to play the number 10 seed, the Pittsburgh Panthers, who were 3rd in their conference, finishing at 20-10. Next up is the number 2 seed. The away team have established themselves as one of the best teams from the independent ranks. They'll be going up against the number 15 seed, the Liberty Flames, with 16 wins. This is their 3rd appearance in the NCAA tournament in the history of their school. I think this could wind up being the bracket that brings us this year's Cinderella story. A few of the higher seeds here have had terrific seasons, and I'll be surprised if at least one of them doesn't put together a long run in this tournament. Next up, we'll take a look at the South Regional. The Connecticut Huskies are the top seed, finishing at 28-6. They were conference tournament champions in Conference USA. They'll take on the Texas San Antonio Roadrunners, the number 16 ranked team. This marks their 4th appearance ever in the NCAA tournament. Penn State comes in as the number 8 seed, finishing at 19-12. Southern Illinois comes in to face them at number 9 with 21 wins in the tournament and regular season championships of the Missouri Valley Conference. Villanova enters the field as the number 5 seed from the Big East. This is their 30th appearance in the NCAA tournament in team history. They'll be getting ready to face the number 12 seed, the San Diego State Aztecs, who finished the season with 19 wins. The Villanova Wildcats have got to be among the group of teams that have a chance to win the whole thing. I love the way they play on both ends of the floor. I'd be shocked if they don't at least advance from their bracket to the Final Four. But more than that, I think they've got a legitimate shot to win some hardware. Florida comes in as the number 4 seed, finishing at 23-8. They'll take on the 13th seed from the MEAC, the Howard Bison, with 22 wins. And now the number 6 seed, the Seton Hall Pirates, come into the tournament as the 4th place team in their conference during the regular season and were semifinalists in their conference tournament. They are going to play the number 11 seed, the Arkansas Razorbacks, who came in 1st in their conference tournament, finishing at 14-12.
That's interesting.
The Texas Longhorns are in as the number 3 seed. They'll be taking on the number 14 seed, the Boston University Terriers, with 19 wins. Next up is the number 7 seed. The Louisville Cardinals have established themselves as one of the best teams from the independent ranks. They'll be going up against the number 10 seed, the Xavier Musketeers, with 20 wins. They return once more to the very familiar surroundings of the NCAA tournament. Our number 2 seed is from the Big East. The Marquette Golden Eagles come into the NCAA tournament as winners of their regular season and conference tournament championship. They're going to play the number 15 seed, the Bucknell Bison, who came in 1st in their conference tournament, finishing at 17-13. What a tremendous regional final we have in this bracket. If the number 1 and 2 seeds here make it through the first 3 rounds unscathed, that could be one of the games of the tournament. absolutely must do, and that's play tremendous team defense. These guys have been shutting down opponents all year with a combination of speed, intelligence, and sheer determination. There have been NCAA championship teams of all shapes and sizes, but all of them play good, strong defense. Arizona comes in as the number 6
Oh, another bubble team made it. Texas A&M.
and they take on the 11th seed from the Big 12, the Aggies of Texas A&M, with 19 wins. And now the number 3 seed, the Alabama Crimson Tide, come into the tournament on the strength of a third-place finish in their conference regular season, and were semifinalists in their conference tournament. They are going to play the number 14 seed, the Western Carolina Catamounts, who came in first in their conference tournament, finishing at 20 and 13. Next up is the number 7 seed. The Western Michigan Broncos are the regular season champions from the MAC. They'll be going up against the number 10 seed, the Virginia Tech Hokies, with 20 wins. This is their 9th appearance ever in the NCAA tournament. USC comes in as the number 2 seed, finishing at 29 and 5. Penn comes in to face them at number 15 with 15 wins to the regular season championship of the Ivy League. There are going to be some incredible matchups in the later rounds of this bracket. If the top teams can avoid the early upsets, we can look forward to some real heavyweight battles. And finally, let's have a look at the West Regional. The UCLA Bruins are the top seed, finishing at 20 and 7. They were winners of the regular season championship in Conference USA. They'll take on the Valparaiso Crusaders, the number 16 ranked team. This will be their 8th appearance all time in the NCAA tournament. Next up is the number 8 seed. The St. Mary's Gales have established themselves as one of the best teams from Conference USA. They'll be going up against the number 9 seed, the Red Hawks of Miami of Ohio, with 23 wins. They return once more to the very familiar surroundings of the NCAA tournament. Tennessee comes in as the number 5 seed, finishing at 21 and 11. And they will take on the 12th seed, the Oakland Grizzlies, with 20 wins. Providence comes in as the number 4 seed, finishing at 24 and 9. Weber State comes in to face them at number 13 with 18 wins. The tournament and regular season championships of the Big Sky. Our number 6 seed is from the Big 10. The Illinois Fighting Illini were rewarded for their outstanding play this season with an at-large bid and a ticket to the Big Dance. They are going to play the number 11 seed, the Middle Tennessee Blue Raiders, who came in first in their conference tournament, finishing at 25 and 7. The Rhode Island Rams are in as the number 3 seed. They'll be taking on the number 14 seed, the Akron Zips, with 16 wins. And now the number 7 seed, the Clemson Tigers, come into the tournament on the strength of a third-place finish in their conference regular season and were semifinalists in their conference tournament. They are going to play the number 10 seed, the North Carolina State Wolfpack, who were 5th in their conference, finishing at 19 and 12. This will be their 2nd appearance in the NCAA tournament in school history. They'll be getting ready to face the number 15 seed, the UNC Wilmington Seahawks, finished the season with 16 wins. On the surface, I'd have to say this regional might be the most difficult of the 4. Certainly the depth of quality teams here is very impressive. Whoever emerges from this bracket will have been through some battles. What are your thoughts on our top 16 seeds, Clark? There are no real off-the-wall picks that jump out at me. These 16 teams are all pretty deserving. Let's give the committee some props this year. Providence is a team I wouldn't want to face, even though they're down there as the number 4 seed. I think they've got the potential to be a Cinderella team. Now, let's bring the conference picture into focus. Conference USA gets 7 teams. The SEC with 6. 6 out of the ACC. The Pac-10 gets 5 teams. It was really an up year for the teams in the MAC. They topped the non-power conferences with the number of bids they got, and it shows you how far this conference has come. They're becoming dominant at that level. And let's not forget the teams. For a small conference, they competed at a very high level this year. Those teams could be the place to look if you're trying to find a Cinderella story in the tournament. I'm surprised there were so few bids for the teams in the Mountain West Conference. It was an especially disappointing year for that conference. Usually you can count on a few of the nation's elite teams coming out of there. But this was a season where very few of those teams can maintain any type of positive momentum. Here's the list of the teams that were on the bubble heading into Selection Sunday. So, partner, which of those invitees should be sending the selection committee a thank you card? Pittsburgh closed out its season in top form and is very confident heading into the tournament. If they can sustain this top level of play, expect them to do some real damage. While those teams are celebrating getting into the tournament, let's take a look at the other teams who are on the short end of the stick. Illinois State probably that we know all the teams and matchups, time to get the tournament underway.
Well, that's cool. We had the three user teams, I believe, are in 3 different regions. We'll confirm that by just looking at the brackets real quick.
I guarantee there are some memorable moments soon to come. From my partner Clark Kellogg and for all of us here in the 2K Sports Studios, I'm Greg Gumbel. Thanks for joining us on the NCAA Selection Show, brought to you by State Farm, the #1 auto insurer. Enjoy all the excitement of the NCAA tournament.
Alright, now we're going to take a quick look. Compared to last season, we're also going to look at the NIT. Alright, this is the West Regional. Now, playing game was between Santa Clara and Utah State, of course. The playing game would be Michigan State, of course. We're in the East Regional. And there's Anchorage in the East. So all 3 users are in the different bracket. That's what it looks like to me. So this is what it looks like for that. Now we're going to look at the NIT. West Virginia, that was one of the top teams that didn't make it. That's the first half of the bracket. Take a look at the other side. There's Green Bay. Alright, that should take care of everything. Have a great day.